In the fine print of the 2026 emissions and compliance updates, something slipped through that most riders still haven't heard about. Several long-standing cruisers, tourers, and big-bore machines have been quietly flagged as non-compliant for future sale. No press release, no big announcement, just a quiet line in the regulatory notes that effectively bans them after 2026 unless they're completely redesigned. And the motorcycles caught in that net aren't fringe models. They're some of the most trusted rides on American roads. Today, we're breaking down all 7 machines regulators are pushing off the map. And the last one will surprise even veteran riders. Watch all the way through, because the last one will catch you off guard. Number 7. Yamaha Bolt R-Spec. There is something unmistakably honest about a machine built to deliver the simple pleasure of riding without chasing trends or drowning the rider in electronics. The Bolt represents that older spirit better than most modern cruisers. It stays close to the ground, carries its weight with purpose, and asks for nothing more than an open road and a steady hand. Riders who value straightforward engineering often point to this motorcycle as proof that a dependable cruiser does not need aggressive styling, touchscreens, or complex software. Its charm rests in the way it keeps the rider connected to the mechanical heartbeat beneath the seat, a quality that many feel has been fading from newer models across the industry. What places the Bolt in a difficult position today is not the lack of loyalty from riders. The issue is the tightening emissions framework scheduled for 2026 and the compounding requirement for expanded electronic oversight. Air-cooled engines have survived wave after wave of new rules, but this time the gap between the older layout and the incoming standards is wider than before. Engineers can only stretch an air-cooled platform so far, and the Bolt sits at the point where further adjustments may not be feasible without changing the entire character of the motorcycle. That places it squarely on lists of machines expected to be pressured out of future compliance. Another factor working against the Bolt is the shift toward integrated rider assist systems. While many experienced riders prefer a motorcycle that does not interfere with throttle or braking decisions, regulatory groups are leaning heavily toward universal adoption of electronic aids. The Bolt was never designed with these layers of technology in mind, and adding them would require significant structural changes. Its frame, electrical layout, and minimalist philosophy simply do not leave much room for the additions that new standards may require. For a motorcycle built on simplicity, the coming rules push in the opposite direction. The Bolt also represents a style of riding that regulators sometimes fail to appreciate. It is a motorcycle chosen by riders who enjoy slow winding roads, steady cruising, and the dependable feel of a machine that responds directly to the rider's input. It is not built for headline-grabbing acceleration or competitive performance. Instead, it offers the kind of familiar relationship between rider and machine that defined entire eras of motorcycling. Losing a model like this signals more than the end of a product line. It signals the fading of a philosophy that once defined entry-level and mid-weight cruisers in the American market. As the industry prepares for the next regulatory shift, the Bolt stands as a reminder of what simple engineering can deliver: comfort, reliability, and a sense of connection that newer machines often fail to replicate. It is a motorcycle respected for its dependability and its refusal to pretend to be anything more than a straightforward cruiser, which is exactly why the transition ahead feels like the closing of an important chapter. A closer look at the Bolt reveals approximately 53 horsepower coming from an engine measuring 942 cubic centimeters, paired with roughly 59 pound-feet of torque, driving through a dual-disc braking system. Support comes from a telescopic front fork working alongside twin rear shocks, resulting in a wet weight near 542 pounds, a seat height of about 27.2 inches, and a starting price close to $8,599. Now, if you think that one was under pressure, the situation only gets heavier as we move down this list. The next machine shows just how little room these new rules leave for old-school engineering. Number 6. Harley-Davidson Softail, Slim. There is a distinct kind of respect earned by a motorcycle that keeps its form grounded in tradition, and the Softail Slim stands as one of the clearest examples of that approach. It is a machine shaped by decades of riders who valued balance, stance, and the feeling of metal working beneath them. Rather than chasing dramatic styling or electronic layers, it focuses on delivering a familiar cruise that speaks directly to those who prefer a straightforward connection with the road. Challenges arise for the Softail Slim not because riders have lost interest, but because upcoming regulations are reshaping expectations for engine behavior, lighting visibility, and baseline electronic support. Air-cooled designs have long held their ground against new standards, yet the next wave pushes requirements into territory that strains traditional architecture. The Softail Slim embodies that older rhythm, relying on mechanical consistency rather than an expanding list of sensors, making it increasingly difficult to fit within the tightening rules. Another complication comes from evolving safety interpretations that emphasize broader lighting surfaces, higher mounted signals, and standardized ergonomic clearances. The Softail Slim carries a low profile that riders appreciate for its grounded appearance. Yet this same profile conflicts with certain visibility recommendations that regulators are beginning to treat as de facto requirements. While many seasoned riders understand precisely how to manage a low-slung cruiser, regulatory agencies often evaluate machines through uniform criteria that overlook the value of experience and road awareness built over years. Even though the Softail Slim does not attempt to compete in high-performance categories, it holds a place of importance among riders who appreciate a calm and steady cruising character. The minimalist nature of the motorcycle is not a drawback, but an intentional choice, giving space to those who prefer the sensation of genuine mechanical response over layered menus and intervention systems. As more manufacturers lean toward expanding electronic oversight, motorcycles built around simplicity find themselves increasingly pressured by expectations that do not align with their original purpose. The Softail Slim represents more than a styling exercise. It reflects an era in which riders selected motorcycles for the way they carried their weight, responded through corners, and settled into long roads without demanding constant adjustment. As the market moves toward universal electronic intervention and standardized behavior profiles, motorcycles that honor this older approach begin to appear out of step with regulatory priorities. The contrast between what riders value and what agencies require continues to widen, placing traditional cruisers at a disadvantage. Strength for the Softail Slim comes from an engine measuring 1,746 cubic centimeters, creating about 85 horsepower and around 120 pound-feet of torque. Stopping power relies on dual disc components, enhanced by an electronically managed anti-lock braking system. A telescopic front fork and a hidden rear monoshock support a wet weight of approximately 672 pounds, complemented by a seat height near 25.5 inches and a starting price around $16,249. That one hurts, but the bike coming up next shows a different kind of problem, one tied to weight, presence, and the kind of torque regulators don't want to deal with anymore. If you value straight, rider-focused breakdowns with no corporate spin, make sure you like the video and hit subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments so this community keeps growing with real experiences from riders who have lived these machines on the road. Number 5. Indian Chief Dark Horse. There is a certain presence carried by a motorcycle built with weight, stance, and heritage in mind. And the Chief Dark Horse delivers that feeling with every mile. It holds a silhouette that recalls decades of American cruising design, using long lines, wide bars, and a riding position meant for steady forward motion rather than sudden bursts of speed. Riders who appreciate a machine with substance often gravitate toward this style because it offers a sense of grounded confidence that lighter or more aggressively styled motorcycles rarely capture. The Chief Dark Horse leans into that identity without apology, presenting itself as a machine that speaks to tradition while still offering a level of refinement expected from a modern cruiser. The current challenge for the Chief Dark Horse arises not from a lack of demand, but from the growing tension between regulatory direction and old-school engineering values. Air-cooled platforms continue to face mounting pressure as emissions expectations tighten year after year, and the spacing between acceptable ranges grows narrower. The Chief Dark Horse relies on a deep, slow-revving engine character that riders have always enjoyed. Yet this same characteristic makes it harder to push the platform into compliance, without changing the qualities that made it appealing in the first place. The hesitation is not about ability, but about preserving the motorcycle's identity. There is also the matter of weight and displacement, two categories that remain under closer analysis from agencies attempting to adjust standards for urban riding conditions. Larger cruisers have always carried more mass because riders valued stability and long-distance comfort. However, recent revisions lean toward penalizing motorcycles that exceed certain weight classes or deliver torque in a way deemed unfriendly for inexperienced riders navigating crowded city environments. The Chief Dark Horse was designed for open roads, country stretches, and relaxed cruising, not tight urban lanes filled with stop-and-go patterns. Yet the newer regulations are written without consideration for intent, placing heavy cruisers under the same lens as entry-level machines. What many long-time riders appreciate about the Chief Dark Horse is the way it delivers its power. It gives a steady, confident push rather than demanding aggressive throttle input. It encourages a pace that suits riders who enjoy long stretches of highway, steady curves, and the dependable feel of a machine that carries its weight with dignity. Losing motorcycles built in this style would mark a shift away from a core segment of the American riding experience. Cruisers like this one anchor an entire culture of relaxed, confident, long-haul riding. Underneath its stance, the Chief Dark Horse carries an engine measuring 1,890 cubic centimeters, generating roughly 90 horsepower and close to 120 pound-feet of torque. Dual discs, supported by an electronically supervised anti-lock braking system, manage braking duties, while a telescopic front fork and dual adjustable rear shocks handle suspension. Total wet weight sits near 662 pounds. Seat height rests around 26 inches. And pricing begins at $17,999. And if you thought the last model had a tough road, ahead, the next one proves that even raw power and premium refinement aren't enough to escape what's coming in 2026. While we move through the list, your gears and accessories are waiting in the description. Number 4. Triumph Rocket. 3R. There are motorcycles that make an impression, and then there are motorcycles that redefine what a power cruiser can be. The Rocket 3R falls squarely into the second category. It is the kind of machine built for riders who appreciate raw strength, delivered with a sense of sophistication, balance, and unmistakable presence. The Rocket 3RR does not try to imitate anything else on the road. It carries its own identity, built around the idea that a motorcycle can deliver extraordinary torque while still offering controlled, predictable manners when handled with respect. That combination has earned it admiration among riders who value both muscle and refinement. Even with its performance reputation, the Rocket 3RR remains a surprisingly approachable motorcycle for those accustomed to long-distance machines. The wide seat, upright posture, and generous bar reach remind riders that comfort does not have to disappear when power increases. This balance is part of what made it stand out in the cruiser landscape. It offered towering performance figures without forcing riders into uncomfortable positions or demanding aggressive riding styles. For many, that blend created a rare kind of trust between rider and machine, the kind that makes long days on open highways feel effortless. The tension the Rocket 3R now faces comes not from its character, but from the direction in which regulations are moving. Future compliance standards place greater emphasis on power-to-weight assessments, acceleration behavior, cold start emissions, and integrated electronic oversight. These frameworks are applied broadly, with little distinction between motorcycles designed for spirited performance and those intended for steady cruising. As a result, the Rocket 3R's defining strengths become the very characteristics that regulators scrutinize most heavily. Its impressive torque output, brisk roll-on acceleration, and large diameter engine layout are all areas flagged for potential review. Another challenge lies in the way regulators increasingly expect motorcycles to adopt a deeper stack of rider assist systems, including more advanced traction mapping, predictive control layers, and emissions-linked monitoring. While the Rocket 3R already includes electronic management expected of a premium modern motorcycle, its identity is tied to a level of mechanical dominance that cannot easily be reshaped without changing what makes the machine special. When rules begin to prioritize uniform behavior across a diverse range of motorcycles, models built around exceptional performance inevitably find themselves in difficult territory. Raw muscle defines the Rocket 3R, powered by an engine measuring 2,458 cubic centimeters that produces nearly 165 horsepower and around 163 pound-feet of torque. Braking relies on dual high-performance calipers tied to an electronically controlled anti-lock braking system. Suspension comes from a fully adjustable front fork and a premium rear monoshock, supporting a wet weight of roughly 651 pounds, a seat height of about 30.4 inches, and a starting price near $22,995. Now that was a serious hit to the power cruiser world, but the next on the list hits even closer to home, especially for riders who put down real miles every year. Number 3. Harley-Davidson Street Glide. The Street Glide has long stood as one of the most recognizable shapes on American roads, carrying a look that riders have trusted for years. It balances long-distance comfort with a confident stance that never feels excessive or strained. Many riders see it as the natural evolution of the classic touring motorcycle, holding on to the traditions that made the category special while introducing touches of refinement that improve the ride without overwhelming it. The fairing provides dependable wind protection. The saddle keeps long hours manageable, and the overall layout encourages steady, predictable travel. It remains a motorcycle built for real miles, not parking lot impressions. The challenge now facing the Street Glide does not come from a lack of interest among riders. Instead, it comes from a wave of regulatory expectations that grow more demanding with each cycle. New standards directed at emissions, noise levels, and integrated electronic oversight place pressure on motorcycles that deliver strong torque and rely on traditional sound profiles. Touring models have always carried deeper exhaust tones, because those tones come from engines designed to move weight efficiently across long terrain. Yet these same qualities now attract attention from agencies seeking greater uniformity. The Street Glide's identity, built around authentic touring performance, stands in contrast to these shifting rules. Another hurdle lies in how touring motorcycles are evaluated for their early cycle emissions behavior. Larger engines often require richer fuel delivery when cold, especially when they are tuned for dependable roll-on response in real-world conditions. That characteristic, admired by riders who have covered serious mileage, becomes an obstacle when regulators focus on narrow test windows rather than long-distance operation. The Street Glide was designed to be stable, comfortable, and capable under load, not optimized solely for brief laboratory measurements that fail to represent everyday travel. The modern direction of the industry adds a separate layer of difficulty. Many new models across various categories lean heavily toward increasingly complex electronics, layered intervention systems, and standardized responses that reduce variation between motorcycles. Touring riders often prefer a machine that allows them to feel the engine working beneath them without excessive mediation. The Street Glide still carries enough technology to provide safety and convenience, yet it preserves a degree of mechanical honesty that many riders value deeply. As expectations shift, motorcycles that hold on to that balance find themselves caught between rider preference and regulatory ambition. Touring capability shows through an engine measuring 1,868 cubic centimeters, sending out around 84 horsepower and roughly 122 pound-feet of torque. Dual front discs work with an electronically managed anti-lock braking system, while a dual bending valve front fork and adjustable rear shocks form the suspension layout. Wet weight settles close to 831 pounds. Seat height lands near 26.1 inches. And the starting price sits at $21,999. That one surprised a lot of long-distance riders, but the next machine shows that performance alone won't save a motorcycle when the new standards tighten the screws. If you want more honest research, real rider insight, and clear explanations of how these new changes affect the motorcycles you trust, make sure you subscribe. Every upcoming breakdown will be built to keep you informed, prepared, and ahead of the curve. Number 2. Ducati Diavel 12. 160. There are motorcycles built to cruise, motorcycles built to tour, and motorcycles built to deliver controlled strength. Then there is the Diavel, a machine that refuses to sit neatly inside any single category. It carries the posture of a power cruiser, the urgency of a performance motorcycle, and the confidence of a machine designed for riders who appreciate force delivered with precision. The Diavel has always attracted those who want a motorcycle that feels alive beneath them, responding instantly to throttle input while still maintaining the kind of road presence that makes every mile feel deliberate and grounded. What sets the Diavel apart is the way it balances posture and performance. Its riding position remains surprisingly comfortable for a motorcycle with such assertive capability. The reach to the bars is natural. The seat provides stability, and the overall geometry gives riders a sense of command without forcing an aggressive lean. Those who appreciate long-distance comfort often comment on how well the Diavel settles into highway speeds while still offering the ability to surge forward with authority when needed. It behaves like a cruiser at steady pace and a performance machine the moment the throttle opens. The challenge facing the Diavel does not come from rider expectations, but from a regulatory environment that is tightening rapidly. New oversight standards place greater weight on the relationship between acceleration, behavior, displacement, and rider classification. The Diavel's defining characteristic, its immediate, forceful delivery of power, has placed it under scrutiny from agencies attempting to standardize what they consider manageable performance. These assessments often overlook the experience and judgment that seasoned riders bring to powerful machines. Instead, they focus on measurable outcomes that rarely reflect real-world conditions. Another area of concern lies in the new focus on emissions control during early cycle operation. Engines tuned for responsive power often require richer fueling at specific points of operation, particularly when cold. Riders who have spent years traveling long distances know that such tuning decisions exist to preserve engine stability and deliver consistent performance across varying terrain and climates. Yet regulations typically evaluate motorcycles during narrow testing conditions. The Diavel's carefully tuned characteristics, ideal for real riding, do not always align with the limited scope of laboratory assessments. The broader shift toward fully integrated electronic intervention systems adds another layer of complication. While the Diavel already carries a sophisticated electronic suite, its identity is tied to the feeling of mechanical dominance delivered with assistance rather than dependency. Regulations, however, increasingly push manufacturers toward uniform behavior under all conditions, diminishing the uniqueness of motorcycles designed to offer performance that feels distinct. This tension places motorcycles like the Diavel into a category where their engineering intent does not align with regulatory expectations. Performance tuning gives the Diavel its 157 horsepower output, from an engine measuring 1,260 cubic centimeters, accompanied by nearly 93 pound-feet of torque. Braking is handled through dual high-performance calipers paired with electronically supervised anti-lock control, an adjustable front fork, and premium rear monoshock support, a wet weight near 544 pounds, a seat height around 30.7 inches, and a starting price of $21,295. And last but not least, number 1, Harley-Davidson Road King. The Road King holds a place in American motorcycling that few machines can match. It carries the confidence of a full touring motorcycle without overwhelming the rider with excess hardware or unnecessary complication. For decades, it has stood as the motorcycle chosen by riders who value the steadiness of a traditional touring frame, the comfort of a spacious saddle, and the clarity of a windshield that shields without hiding the road ahead. The Road King represents a style of riding rooted in patience, endurance, and the confidence that comes from knowing a motorcycle will behave with predictability no matter how many miles stretch before it. What places the Road King under pressure today has little to do with its popularity. Riders continue to appreciate its balance of highway comfort and grounded design. Instead, the challenge now comes from regulatory standards, moving steadily toward narrower interpretations of emissions behavior, exhaust tone, and required electronic oversight. Touring motorcycles have always relied on strong torque delivery to move weight across varied terrain, and that torque creates the kind of deep, steady sound that many riders associate with real travel. Yet, the very characteristics that give the Road King its identity now draw scrutiny from agencies evaluating motorcycles through uniform criteria that overlook the realities of long-distance riding. Another point of tension for the Road King arises from the shift toward mandatory electronic layers that regulate engine response, braking logic, and acceleration profiles. While the Road King offers modern systems designed to support rider safety, it remains intentionally mechanical in feel. Many riders prefer that balance, wanting enough assistance to maintain confidence without losing the direct connection to the motorcycle's rhythm. Regulatory direction increasingly favors platforms that deliver more standardized, less organic behavior, placing motorcycles like the Road King in a difficult position. Its charm lies in the very qualities that rules now challenge. The Road King also faces the reality of changing expectations for noise management. Traditional touring engines produce a distinct pulse, shaped by displacement and exhaust volume. This pulse is not simply a sound. It is a form of feedback that helps riders gauge engine behavior during long runs, especially when managing shifting terrain or climbing grades. Noise assessments conducted through static, laboratory-style evaluations fail to consider this functional purpose. Touring motorcycles are built for open roads, not small test enclosures. Yet regulations seldom reflect that distinction. Long-distance rhythm is powered by an engine measuring 1,868 cubic centimeters, forming roughly 84 horsepower and about 120 pound-feet of torque. Dual front discs and an electronically managed anti-lock braking system provide stopping confidence, while a dual bending valve front fork and adjustable rear shocks steady the ride. The motorcycle carries a wet weight near 834 pounds, a seat height around 28.2 inches, and a starting price close to $20,999. These bands will hit real riders hardest, and the conversation starts with you. Share your thoughts below. Which bike shouldn't be on this list? If this video helped you stay ahead of the changes, tap like, hit subscribe, and stick around. More Straight Talk updates are on the way. See you in the next one.